Hello everyone, welcome to Code and today in this session we'll discuss the topic and implement the virtual environment in Python. So let's start virtual environment. Now, starting with the definition, virtual environment, a virtual environment is a is an isolated environment for Python where you can install packages packages without affecting the without affecting the global Python installation. Now Uh, this is useful when we are working on multiple projects, or we are avoiding version conflict, or we are deploying, testing or deploying. So that is the definition and the use cases when should we use the virtual environment. Now, first of all, we'll see how we could check uh, or view the environment. So for that, check if venv is available. Okay. Now it is pre-installed. It is pre-installed in Python 3.3. Okay. We'll start with import venv and we'll print venv module is available with Python module. Okay. Now to show a command to create virtual environment. So for local setup, third one, show command create a virtual environment. Virtual environment for local setup. For local setup. Now for that, we cannot execute this command in Google Colab, but we can use when we are using the VS Code or Python, we can execute this. So the basically to create a virtual environment locally, you can run this in your terminal. To create a virtual environment locally, run this in your terminal. Okay, and you need to run Python m env and my environment. So that you need to run in your terminal and you can create a virtual environment. Now next is the activation command based on OS. So we have different for Windows, we have different for Mac OS or Linux, we have different. Fourth one is activation command based on OS. Based on OS. So after creating the virtual environment, activate it. Now for Windows, we have my env, that is our environment name, then script if and activate. For Mac OS or Linux, we have stores my env, then activate. And to deactivate, just need to mention deactivate. Okay, so these are the basic command based on OS. Next is installing packages inside a virtual environment. Now, after you created your virtual environment, we need to install packages. Suppose I need NumPy library or Pandas library. So for that, you need to install the package. Fifth one is installing packages inside a virtual environment. Suppose I have created my environment, my NV, then I will need to start. For installing packages, I will use pip install numpy or pandas. And you can also we can also give the version which we want for a particular environment also. So pip install pandas. In this way we can install packages inside a virtual environment. Now next is we can simulate a virtual environment with a virtual env if available. So next is simulate virtual environment with virtual env if available. We have pip install virtual env for that, and we can simulate our virtual environment. Now we can list install packages in the virtual environment also. Next is list install packages in the virtual environment. Just need to mention check and to see the install packages in your virtual environment. Now to freeze the requirements to a file, so next is freeze requirement to a file. So we need pip freeze and requirement dot txt. Freeze the requirement dot txt file. We use this pip freeze, and to install the dependencies from required txt. So next is install dependencies from requirement dot txt. So we just need to run the pip install r requirement dot txt dot txt. Okay. Now we need to delete the virtual environment. Last is the delete the virtual environment. Or to just delete the virtual environment folder or just remove the directory, we can use rm, let rf mynv, the environment name, and this is for Linux, or Mac OS, and you have rmdir /s my environment. This is for Windows. Okay. This way we can delete our virtual environment. I hope you guys understood, and it's quite easy to create a virtual environment. First of all, we saw what is the use of virtual environment, and it is an isolated environment for Python where we can install packages without affecting the global Python installations. And the use cases are working on multiple projects. So for multiple projects, we can have different versions of different libraries. For NumPy, for one project we may have different version. For another project, we may require another version of NumPy. So for that purpose, we need to create virtual environment to avoid the version conflict. If many versions are present in multiple environments or multiple, what we can say, the operating system which we are working on at that point of time, we need to use different virtual environment for testing or deploying also. We need to use the virtual environment. To check the if VNV is available, we can see by use the import VNV to create a virtual environment. We have the necessary code, that is the Python mvnv my environment, and this is the environment name. We have the activation command based on OS. We have different for Windows, for Mac OS, Linux, we have different. We can also deactivate them. Then after creating the environment, we need to install packages necessary for that environment. We can do that. We can simulate the virtual environment with this code, with this line of code, and we also can see the install packages in the virtual environment. By we can freeze the requirements of the file, that is the requirement.txt file. We can install all the dependencies from the requirement.txt file. And also we can delete the virtual environment. I hope you guys understood, and you need to practice this in your local system. Can be on VS Code or Python, and run this on your terminal and see how we could create the virtual environment and install dependencies. How we could install the dependencies in the requirements.txt file. How we could create the virtual environment, delete it, and so on. So I'll see you in the next session with the new topic. Till then, bye.